Okay, picking back up where we left off yesterday with the executive branch, important takeaways, things to remember for that is that the president and vice president serve 4-year terms. They're elected by the electoral college, not the popular vote. Their main powers, they are the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. They can make treaties with other nations. Those treaties have to be ratified by Congress in a way of checks and balances. But they appoint federal officers like the Secretary of Defense, the Department of Homeland Security, those types of positions, the Secretary of Education. They appoint federal judges, which then have to be confirmed by Congress. But they ensure that the laws passed by Congress are executed. Article 3, the judicial branch. Okay, this is basically the entire judicial structure. It establishes district courts, circuit courts of appeals courts, all the way up to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court judges, they serve for life unless they are impeached and removed for misconduct, severe misconduct. They decide cases of constitutional law and federal law. Okay? They provide judicial review. The Supreme Court reviews the decisions that they choose to take up of lower courts. And if you can continue to appeal, you can appeal all the way to the Supreme Court. That's not a guarantee that the Supreme Court will accept your case to judge, but they will take a look at it if you lose in a federal court, a federal appeals court. Other important articles of the Constitution. Article 6, we'll talk about the Supremacy Clause that establishes that federal law is supreme to state law. There is no state law that supersedes federal law. And amendments, this is a big one, Article 5. Amendments are typically, they go through Congress in the House and the Senate. They are proposed when 2/3 of the House and Senate decide that it's necessary. Amendments can also be passed outside of Congress, and it's called another constitutional convention. And if 2/3 of the states agree to call a constitutional convention, then that is called. It doesn't matter what Congress says. It doesn't matter if they don't agree with it, if they're mad about it, if they oppose it. It doesn't matter because it says so in the Constitution that is allowed. And any amendments that are proposed by the states and their representatives, if they are ratified by enough 3/4 of the states or the conventions in those states, 75% of the states, if they vote to pass constitutional amendments, those amendments become law. No matter what the president says, no matter what the Senate says, no matter what the House of Representatives says. Okay, those amendments become law. Now, the Bill of Rights. These are so important. These are foundational. The Bill of Rights was created as a response to the abuses of power by the King of England and by the British government. And so the Bill of Rights is really a positive affirmation of the rights that all people have. Everyone has these rights, not just Americans, not just people who choose to then become a citizen of the United States, not even people just living in the United States, anywhere around the world, because this document, the Constitution, initially has already made this argument, and actually in the Declaration of Independence as well, is that rights don't come from government. Rights don't come from man. You are born with rights. Whether it's God or Mother Nature or some unifying energy in the universe that grants you these rights, you have these rights upon birth. Everyone has them, be it somebody living in Jacksonville, Texas, somebody living in the rainforest in Brazil, somebody living, in total poverty in Thailand. It doesn't matter who you are or where you live in this earth, on the face of this earth, you have these rights. as a human being, you have these rights. Okay, and there are these 10. They're ones that come up most often that you hear debated are Amendment number 1, that's freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of the press to assemble and to petition your government. Number 2 is a big one in Texas, the right to bear arms. Okay, you have a right to own weapons for yourself, for your defense. Number 3, no quartering of soldiers. That one's kind of obscure these days. We don't have time to talk about that one. Number 4, Amendment 4, Fourth Amendment, no unreasonable search and seizure. That means that the government has to have a warrant. They have to have a legal reason and justification to violate your privacy in any way, shape, or form. Okay. Amendment number 5, your due process. You can plead the 5th. I don't know if you've heard that in a court case. You do not have to incriminate yourself in court. Okay. You cannot be tried twice for the same crime. You have a right to have a trial by jury. Okay. 6th Amendment, same thing. Right to a fair and speedy trial. You have a right to be notified of accusations against you. You have a right to face your accuser in court. You have a right to a lawyer to represent you. The 7th Amendment is a right to a trial by jury in civil cases. These are cases where there's not a crime that's been committed, but somebody is just suing you for whatever reason. 8, no excessive bail or cruel and unusual punishment. Okay. Number 9, there are other rights. These are big ones too, and they come up more and more these days. There are other rights not written in the Constitution. These rights, what that says is that, you know what, we have even more rights than are listed here. There are so many that we can't list them all. That doesn't mean that these are the only ones. Okay? And Amendment number 10, the 10th Amendment, is that all rights not given to the federal government belong to the states and the people. The federal government only has the rights that it is specifically granted by the Constitution and nothing more. Anytime Congress or the government tries to do more than what they're specifically allowed to do, then they have violated the law. And that's going to be all for today. And I think I'm going to try to get another video posted for today as well, dealing with the preamble to the Constitution. Hold tight.